Hello everyone, Bard here, or you can call me Zoe. Once again, I'm going over the animated movies of 2016 by looking over Disney's first animated feature of that year. One that started out as being 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, gained tons of praise and love from critics and audiences, and won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And being co-directed by the same man behind Wreck-It Ralph, it is the mammal-filled comedy adventure Zootopia. A rabbit named Judy Hopps wants to be a police officer for the city of Zootopia, where predator and prey get along with each other. But Judy's given the duty of a parking meter maid instead of one of the 14 missing animal cases. Yet one day, Judy stops a weasel stealing from a shop, avoiding her duties and almost gets fired, until an otter named Mrs. Otterton is desperate to have her missing husband Emmett be found. So Judy takes the otter case and is given 2 days to find Emmett or resign. And by getting the help of a scheming fox named Nick Wilde, who she met before and he knows everyone in the city, the two try to work together to find Emmett and eventually stumble onto another mystery and plot involving the predators becoming savage, and of what happened to the missing animals. So, with a concept like this to feature anthropomorphic animals from Disney since Robin Hood, and with all the hype and praise around it, would make me enjoy it as much as everyone else, right? Well, not really. But I'm not saying that it's a bad movie. I just don't get the love for it when to me it feels standard and too on the nose about everything. Yet there are good things in this film that I can take away from, and I'll go over them first. I like the look of the film. The backgrounds and setting of Zootopia have a variety of colors, styles, and locations. Desert, tundra, rainforest, big city, miniature city, everything for all the mammals of the movie. And yes, it's only mammals as there's no fish, insects, reptiles, and amphibians anywhere in the film. So I'm surprised not to see any bats, whales, seals, or dolphins as their mammals too. There are some good moments that are clever commentary on our reality and even make sense with the animal, like rabbits are farmers, foxes are sly hustlers, and my favorite, sloths working at the DMV. And it's this scene that I enjoyed the most out of, just for how slow the animation of the sloths move and how they slowly say 1 or 2 words at a time. And the moment where one of them, named Flash, gets a laugh from a joke Nick told is the funniest bit of the movie, and nearly had me laughing. Plus Nick's joke is funny too. The characters are decent enough, even if some of their names relate to who they are and occasionally a pun on the actor voicing them. And the song, Try Everything, by Shakira, is a really good song. It's basically a try again and don't give up message, but the music is fun, it has an upbeat feel, and it's just so good to listen. But that's all I ever liked from this film, because everything else just didn't click and I really couldn't get. First off, the other moments of clever commentary doesn't quite make sense. With one of them having a shrew as the godfather, I mean, I would get it if it's a parody, but I don't see it as that because it would mean that shrews are part of a mafia, and what exactly do the two have in common? Also, the name Mr. Big and the similar joke has already been done in Rocky and Bullwinkle. Another confusing bit is at the Naturalist Club in which the mammals relax and meditate in the nude, which doesn't make sense because despite the fact that the characters wear clothes, they don't appear to have any private parts shown, so why wear any clothes at all? Also, when Nick and Judy ask about the otter case, the yak knows more about him than his yoga instructor, who's an elephant, and the yak says that he wishes he has the mind of an elephant, even though he somehow has the mind of an elephant, yet the elephant can't recall anything about the otter. Then there's Nick and Judy working together to solve the case, and it felt like a buddy cop movie. Except there's nothing funny between them, they go through similar scenarios as other buddy cop movies, or buddy movies in general, and I don't feel any sense of romantic chemistry between them as many others would like to mention. Friendship or partnership? Maybe. And then there's the big theme of the movie, of prey and predator being an allegory to racism. Yes, it's certainly a touchy subject and is still as relevant as ever, yet the message it goes for is quite obvious and how it's portrayed is too simple. Where there's many different diversities and nationalities in our world, this one goes for like 2, carnivores and herbivores. I would understand it taking this approach as it's a family film and not to overcomplicate things, but there could have been more to this. But easily, by far, the most perplexing part of the entire film is the twist ending, where the mayor's assistant Bellwether is the villain of the movie. And I really don't understand this bit for a few reasons. One, she's one of the surprise villains that Disney has been doing over the past 10 years or so. Yet with the other surprise Disney villains, they have a motivation for being the bad guy, and kind of work in the context of the movie. But here, Bellwether's motivation is complicated and vague. She wants to rid Zootopia of its predators, as prey outnumbers them, and tries framing the predators by making them savage using nightcrawler flowers as pellets, and accusing Mayor Lionheart of the missing predators. And bringing fear to the masses, which I think Scarecrow should teach her a lesson or two. There isn't too much detail behind it, yet there's also too much plot added for it being a mystery. 2. We don't know much about Bellwether. All there is that she's the mayor's assistant, is a friend of Judy, and is bummed out when the mayor doesn't heed her advice. That hardly isn't much for her to be the villain when she herself isn't featured in all that much. It'll be like if the villain in Batman v Superman is really Jimmy Olsen. And 3, she's a sheep. Why that animal? What have sheep and even rams have against every predator? I'm sure there's a reason, but I can't really pinpoint it when she's barely in this film and has a weak motivation. And all these problems I have with the film made it hard for me to enjoy it throughout. It's all standard, simple, complex, obvious, and vague for a Disney film, despite the few saving graces that aren't enough for me to get invested or interested. And the actors voicing the characters did alright for what they offer. Jennifer Goodwin voices Judy Hopps, Jason Bateman voices Nick Wilde, Idris Elba voices Chief Bogo, Jenny Slate voices Bellwether, Nate Torrance voices Officer Clawhauser, Bonnie Hunt voices Bonnie Hopps, Don Lake voices Stu Hopps, Tommy Chan voices Yax, J.K. Simmons voices Mayor Lionheart, Octavia Spencer voices Mrs. Otterton, Alan Tudyk voices Duke Weaselton, Sakira voices Gazelle, Raymond S. Percy voices Flash, Maurice LaMarche voices Mr. Big, Phil Johnson voices Gideon Gray, John DiMaggio voices Jerry Jumbukes, Katie Lowes voices Dr. Mage Honeybadger, Geeta Reddy voices Nangi, Jesse Corti voices Manchas, Tommy Tiny Lister voices Finnick, Rich Moore voices Doug, Christian Bell voices Priscilla, Frisia voices Major Friedkin, Josh Dallas voices Frantic Pig, Peter Mansbridge voices Peter Moosebridge, Josie Trinidad voices Mrs. Dharma Armadillo, Dila Saba voices young Judy Hopps, and Kath Soucie voices young Nick Wilde. As a whole, this movie is not all good, but not all bad. It's just an average flick. The characters are alright, the story feels obvious and a bit muddled, and the animation is rather decent. Directors Brian Howard and Rich Moore have made a movie that does have some nice looking backgrounds, decent characters, some clever scenarios, and a good original song. But the story's basic allegory of predators and prey is rather overplayed a bit and kind of obvious, especially during these times. And as a buddy cop mystery, it goes through the basic humor of other buddy movies, yet with a cop and a witness, and not any of it being funny. And the twist ending felt like a last-minute addition with who the real villain is, the kind of animal the villain is, and the motivation behind it. It's sad though, because I wanted to like this, and I originally liked how the prejudice was handled, and there's still good stuff in it. But overall, I expected more from this, and didn't feel as invested as everyone else is, with how basic and standard the film is. I was glad to see it before and still again, but based on the initial reaction I get from everyone and what this movie tried to accomplish, I feel it's pretty overrated. So today, this movie we've given a rating of 2.5 mixed stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and tune you next time for a new video.